Alright, welcome back to another episode of the Neon Neuron builds. Today on the workbench we have this happy little character, Giovannino by VinsArt, and this is a throwback to 2010, right around the peak of the millennial Papercraft surge. Vince was a very prolific paper crafter. He's a very prolific artist to begin with. The introduction to him to Papercraft really, I think, really helped him spread his wings a little bit more. And as you can see in the design, this is a completely glueless Papercraft, and he kind of specialized in glueless, unique shapes. Vince did. So what we're seeing here is a model that doesn't take very long to put together. It's a cute little audio file that you can set on your desk. You see, he loves music. He's got his headphones on, he's got his hands relaxing in his hoodie, he's just chilling, listening to some Holy Connie or what have you, and just enjoying life. Look. Really loves music, this guy. I really love the color palette on this is the version 1. I think there was a total of 6 or 7 different designs for this character. This is the first one, and I think for a first model, it's really good. The color palette is subtle, it's soothing. It has a really the character overall has a very soothing effect. I mean, if you sit him on your desk as you're working, he kind of just sits there and just chills. And if you watch him while you're listening to music, it's kind of like he's listening to music with you. The template is one page. I'm a huge fan of one-page templates. They're easy to put together, they're easy to print out, and they're just, the layout, it's a really good design. So this is what we'll see when we're done, and this is what we see now. It's a slot and tab, and what that means is that we have these slots here that we're going to cut out, and you're going to put these tabs into these slots. It gets a little tricky at times because of the best way for slots or for tabs to hold in the slots is to have these little angles like an arrowhead, to have the barbs over here. They go in and then you can't pull them out, and the problem comes when you're trying to put them into these slots. So we're going to be required to kind of roll these tabs so that we can shove them into the slots. And we have the slots here on the sides of the head that hold the headphone in place right here, and it holds the roll, that's the headphone. And then the neck right here goes into this square. We cut this square out and then we insert the neck there, and then these slots will go into here. These tabs will go into this slot here and this slot here. We're gonna have to make these slots a little wider than the line provides just to make it easier. It's a minor flaw, and it's nothing too difficult to rectify. Oh, I gotta fix something real quick. What happened here? Give me 1 second. It's not too hard to rectify. It's not a huge problem, and it doesn't take away from the overall design anyway. There we go. I think I fixed the problem. Plus, it's no glue. It's completely glueless, and that's kind of a bonus. As you can see, let me show you from all angles. Right here, this little shape right here keeps him up. It helps him sit up, and doesn't detract from the overall design, because you don't even really notice it when you're looking at it from the front. It's just a second thought. It's not even a second thought. It's not even a thought at all, because what you mostly see is that. And the way the arms and the hands sit in the pouch of his hoodie, I think is kind of cool. It's kind of simple. There's an elegance to it, as you can see his arm curving around and resting in there, and you cut the little line right there for his thumbs to stick out. I mean, I know I put my hands in my pocket with my thumb sticking out. I put my hands in my hoodie with my thumb sticking out. There's just something. It's a comfortable hold, and Vince somehow was able to observe this and replicate it in a paper toy, and I think that's very. It's very observant of him, number one, and it shows that he's very aware as an artist, and then as a paper toy designer, translating that into paper shows his awareness of just life. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this Papercraft started. I'm going to go ahead and leave Gio right there. And once again, this is Giovannino version number 1. No glue required. Copyright VinsArt from 2010. And it's really hard to find paper toy creators that are on the path of innovation, like VinsArt was, and like Fold Up Toys, like Alex from Fold Up Toys is, and trying to think of the other artists that I featured, but I mean, these are two of really good examples of great designers. So let's go ahead and get this started. But oh no, here they are. So first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna release the shapes from the sheet. So we're gonna cut out all the individual shapes and then refine the cutting. And that's just the way I do it. If you want to go ahead and cut the pieces out detailed to begin with, if you want to go ahead and just trace the lines with the sheet, you can. There is no wrong or right way to release the Papercraft. And I've also learned, oh Gio, I'm sorry. I've also learned that there's really no wrong or right way to put a Papercraft together either. I know I've done some Papercraft builds where I've taken a few liberties and added some things or glued things differently than the creator intended, and it just adds more charm. That's kind of what I like about Papercraft itself, is that there's things you can follow the rules, and then you can kind of break them as well. Oh, and if you want to download this Papercraft, you can download it at vinsart.it.net. I'm sorry, it's not .net, it's just vinsart.it. www.vinsart.it. And another thing, IT, that should immediately show you the next point I'm going to make about Papercraft is that Papercraft and paper toys is such a unique tool to bring people together, people around the world together. This is from Italy, I believe, and I'm here in America building it. And I'm not the only person to build this. I know people in the UK have built it. I think someone from Australia built this as well. There's people all over the world are building these paper toys. And it's not just Vince paper toys, it's paper toys in general. It's a thing. This paper toys can unite the world. That's my belief. I think it's something that can bring us all, just like art, it can bring us all together. And the thing I like about paper toys as well is that it requires something from the participant. You're not just buying a toy. You're not even buying. A lot of the times you can find these toys for free. These are free downloads and free promotional tools by artists themselves to just make you aware of their presence, which is a shame, because not a shame in the regard that these artists want their presence to be known, but a shame that these are such good concepts, good designs, that it's worth money. I believe this is worth money, and the fact that they're giving these away for free shows a lot to their love of the art and passion for the craft. And on top of that, as I was saying before, it requires something of the participation of the viewer. It's not just a piece of work that you look at. It's a piece of work that is incomplete until the builder puts it together and has this by the end of the day. So the final step, the final piece to the creation is not the artist, is not the design itself. The final piece to the creation is you and me and us. It is not complete until it has our full participation, and that's what I really love about paper crafts and paper toys and paper design. I mean, aside from being free, from most of these toys being free, that is what I love the most. It's a uniting factor on so many different fronts. I mean, we can look at art and then pretend that the artist is the final say in the creation. But with paper toys, the artist is just a facilitator to help others be creative. When I was in art school, I had a teacher who at the time I thought was kind of just full of it. I didn't respect them because the idea of what I saw as art was so narrow. I wanted to be a comic book artist. I still want to be a comic book artist. But at that time, that's all I understood was just comic book art. And kind of, I didn't understand a lot about fine arts and like the abstract stuff, and Andy Warhol got on my nerves a lot because what I felt what he was doing was not art. It was kind of just marketing, and I still feel that way. But what Andy Warhol did was turned marketing into an art form, and I didn't understand how art forms worked until I saw Shaolin Soccer. And when I saw Shaolin Soccer, then I realized when Steel Leg made the revelation that art and Kung Fu is everything you do that you're good at. That's when I realized what real art was just being good. It's like kind of what's the guy, the Nerdist? It's kind of what the Nerdist says about being a nerd, because I think his definition of nerd is a little warped, just to fit the times, and I can get into that later, but to kind of stick with my point, he says a nerdist is just somebody who really, 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 really loves something. And that's kind of what Kung Fu is. Or, in our terms, that's what art is. Art is something that you really, really love, that you do well, that becomes an art. So, for example, there are people who love teaching, and they love teaching so much that they become good at it, and they become so good that in fact that they make people love what they're teaching. They make people love that they're teaching. They make people enjoy all this stuff, and that becomes their Kung Fu. That becomes their art. Art is the ability to elevate not just yourself, but others around you. That's, according to Steeleg, that is what Kung Fu is. And Steeleg is played by Stephen Chow, and I believe that's his philosophy. Alright, going back to the Papercraft, we got these little, the dark, we're going to cut everything on the outline, but on the inside here, you're going to have these darker lines right there. And those are the things, we have to cut out these lines. You're going to cut on that line, because we're going to fold this. So cut out this line, cut out that line, cut out that line, this line, this line, this line, and then cut the slots out. So when I learned that anything can be an art form, I realized that what my one of my instructors, I'm going to give you his name so that you can look him up and see what he's up to. I haven't looked him up in a while. Like I said, I didn't really have a lot of respect for him at the time because my view of art was very narrow. His name was Tad Lowitzen Wright, and what I understand is that he also believed that art can be something that the viewer can participate in. And an example he gave was there was one show where there was a ping pong table set up, and people would come and dip the ping pong balls into different colored paints, and then they'd bounce them on a canvas that was laid out on the ping pong table. So the balls would hit and bounce and leave the colors, and anybody who was at the show could come and do this. And so at the very end, what he had was a canvas that had a lot of dots on it, that because he was the creator of the piece, but it was ultimately the viewers and the visitors to the show who were the artists. He turned just your average person, your schmoozer, your grin and grab viewer into an artist. And I thought that was, now, it wasn't at the time, I thought it was stupid at the time. I was like, that is ridiculous. But now I realize how genius that is. It's very, very, very clever and very smart and very kung fu. I have a lot of respect for him now, if you can imagine. So that was Tad Lowitzen Wright. Look him up. See what he has to offer. Support him if you want. I haven't looked him up in a while. I don't know if he's still doing his thing. He was my painting instructor for a minute. I think my painting 1 instructor. I took painting 1 with him. Alright, we're almost done with this. Let me make sure I cut along all the black lines. Yep. Yep. Alright, we gotta cut these semicircles out. I like to start from the middle. For some reason it just seems easier for me. Cutting curves is hard, especially with scissors, trying to maneuver the paper around the scissors. So the best thing to do is just use the blade for this one. And I think another thing that Tad taught me about art is that, and this is what you can learn from Andy Warhol, but I learned this from Tad, was everything has the potential to be art, and I will allow me to expand on that idea, because I had him for he was my painting instructor for my painting 1 course, and we were using oil paints, so we had to put gesso on the board, and we would lay out these tarps and paint the boards and just get sloppy with it. You know, it didn't matter because we had the tarps down, so it didn't matter if you were going off the edge of the board, because you wanted to make sure that you covered as much of the canvas or the board as possible so that you could paint on it. And so what we had when we were done was we had these canvases with these square shapes with kind of a flare paintbrush strokes around it, so it made these unique kind of cityscapes. At least they look like cityscapes to me, in buildings and grids, and maps, and stuff like that. Really cubic structures. And he came by once and he was looking at them. He kind of looked down at the canvas and he was like, huh. And would walk to a different side of the tarp and tilt his head a little and and then walk to another side, and it was me and this other kid, and we were kind of watching him like, what is he up to? I mean, we're not doing anything remotely artsy. We're just putting gesso on our canvases or our art boards. And so finally he's like, this is interesting. And we asked him, well, what are you talking about? And he's like, look, pick up your canvases and your art boards. And so we picked them up, and he's like, look at that. That's kind of neat, isn't it? And me and this other kid kind of looked at each other, and we were like, yeah, sure, really, really great. Because like I said, I was really naive in what I thought was art at the time. And then now that I've kind of in hindsight, and even at the time I kind of looked at it and was like, yeah, that is kind of neat. But I didn't appreciate it as much as I should have, I guess. So next we're going to cut out these the slots. So it's all these black lines right here, and these are where all these the spearhead tabs are going to go. And I would advise to make it just a little bit longer so that it's a little easier like maybe just a millimeter outside of the zone. A little millimeter outside of the black line. And you really don't need the straight edge for this because it's really simple. There's no way you can really go wrong cutting out the slots. And funny enough, a few years later, I went back to the college and was walking around looking at the gallery, and I saw somebody had put a canvas that looked like they used that canvas to gesso their other canvases and artboards. So he must have said that same thing to some other art student who got the message and created an art piece out of it and decided to display it. And of course it looked like a cityscape. Now personally, I can't recommend anybody go to art school at all. Unless you have money to throw away, don't go to art school. It's a waste of money. If you want to learn art, the real key to learning art is to just do art. It's not that difficult. Do art, put together a portfolio, and that is all you need. Take a class, get a degree in business management or accounting or something practical so that you can have a degree. But going to art school, there's only one good thing about art school, and that is community. The artistic community at an art school is, I think, what every artist needs. The problem with that is it's not worth $60,000 for a community, especially now with all the art communities online. But you do need a degree if you want to get a professional job. So get a degree in something practical. Meanwhile, build up your portfolio, and you can probably get yourself a pretty decent gig anywhere. But I'm still in debt for art school, and I'm having a hard time paying them back because obviously I'm not doing anything that pays in art in the art world. So that kind of makes it tough. And I'm making a living, but I'm not filthy rich like we should all be, right? We should all be filthy rich. Of course we should. But we're not. We have enough. I make enough to support a family, and that's really all I can ask for at this time. I don't want to get greedy. We have what we need. Every day I am grateful that I'm healthy, Lovey's healthy, kids are healthy, because really all you need in life: shelter, food, clothes, medicine. Shelter, food, clothes, medicine. Everything else is luxury. And sometimes medicine, it's hard to that makes life a little bit hard. Sometimes kids get sick, sometimes I get sick. But we've never gone for want of food. And I keep thinking, if I wouldn't have gone to school, if I wouldn't have gone to art school, if I would have just disciplined myself to study art for 8 hours a day at home instead of going to a class and taking out a loan and being young and dumb and not knowing how the world works, how the world of banking works, how the world of scams and all that works, that I could be less in debt today if only I would have been smarter. But that's a good thing. Sometimes you need that hard lesson. You need to learn the hard lessons. Fortunately, that's the way life works, and that's the best way to learn anything, is through experience and failure and making mistakes. But if I could give any advice to any artist looking at going to college, save your money, save your time, just learn discipline. Discipline yourself will get you so much further in life as an artist than any 60,000, 40,000, 60,000, 100,000 education will. Don't go to art school. Do something practical with your time and with your money, and then use that to fulfill your artistic dreams. Also, find a community. Definitely find a community. Build, don't just find one, build one even. If you can't find a community, start that community. Start the community that you're looking for. It's like right now, I know a lot of people are upset about Tumblr. Kicking a lot of artists off. But you know what Tumblr created? A vacuum. So there's a space out there right now, a void looking to be filled by somebody I'm sure it wouldn't be that hard to put a team together and create the next Tumblr. Create that community. You want the community back? Build it. Create it. This song makes me think of two songs. It's a really good song, Icarus by Trash 80. It's a really cool song, but every time I hear it, I'm reminded of, I think it's Hometown by 21 Pilots and Get Lucky, I think, by Daft Punk. That's what this song reminds me of. It's kind of got that sound to it. Cut this little piece right there. And I like when things make me think about my childhood. This song is called Icarus, and I used to love the game Kid Icarus. That was one of my favorite games growing up. Kid Icarus. Because I love the music on that game. I like the opening song, I like the ending song, and a lot of the songs in between are just as good. Play the game just to hear the music. Beat the game just to hear the music. There's a lot of good songs out there. So all we're doing is we're just cutting these the little fans out right here, just cutting down the lines, and this is going to become the pieces that we tuck inside here to complete the roll, to lock the headphone in place. Put that aside, almost done, and then we'll be ready to move on to gluing. Or scoring and then gluing. I mean, yeah, scoring and then building. No glue required in this Papercraft. Version 1, the cute one. The cute one is not the official title. I just think this one's cute because of the color scheme. It's got a really nice color scheme, and I've already discussed the color scheme. But I can talk about it again. I can go on all day about how pleasing the color choices are for this model. Vince has a good eye for color. A lot of artists, a lot of designers are blessed with the gift for color. I, on the other hand, have a terrible eye for color. I can't grasp or understand how color works for some reason. It's just, I guess I haven't studied enough, and I need to study more. How color works, color theory. I had a friend who bought me a book for my birthday on color theory. I think it's time that I read that book. That would help a lot. See how it's kind of hanging on right there? You want to cut that piece. You don't want to pull it. It's still attached. If you pull it, it'll leave a little kind of a cotton ball right at the corner. And it's not a bad thing. It just doesn't look pleasing in the end. And then we're going to cut out his thumb, which is going to stick out of the hoodie pocket. We got one more piece, and then we can put it all together. Before we put this piece together, we got to cut out these two slots right here, and then so there's these two slots here where the feet are going to go in. And let me just double check how that goes in. Okay. And then we have this slot right next to the half a rainbow. So we got, get that out of the way. Got this right here. The hoodie pocket. And then these slots down here. For the feet where the shoes are going to go. Okay. And then we're almost ready to do this. Let's cut this out. Alright, so we got all that done. Now it is time to score and then fold it and put it together. So we'll start with Gio's head. We're just going to score along the dotted lines. If you're new to paper crafting, what scoring does is it makes the pieces easier to fold. And some people score with the blade and they'll just run it along lightly. I don't like using the blade because it cuts the paper. So I use a stylus, a ballpoint stylus. You can use a pointed stylus and it works the same, but with the pointy stylus, that also has the chance to cut the paper. The ballpoint stylus is a tool that takes some getting used to, because you have to offset the straight edge by about 1 millimeter from the line, because the ball itself will not, if you put the straight edge on the line, the ball will go off to the side, so you won't have a direct, won't be right on top of the line. You have to, so that's why you got to set the straight edge off a little to account for the circumference of the ball. And then you just apply light pressure and then just drag it along. And that creates an indentation in the paper that makes easier to fold and creates a nice crisp edge. Okay, so we'll go ahead and fold everything down. We're going to fold these little Sides right here. And this is what creates the locking mechanism in the slot. Fold the paper down, and right in here is where the slots will go. And I think I accidentally cut it too deep. And what I like to do too is to open these up, just getting the tip of the razor and giving it a little play. It opens it up so that it's easier to insert the slots. I mean, insert the tabs into the slot. Continue folding. Sorry, Gio. So we bring it all the way around, and you can see these tabs aren't going to stay straight up. You're going to have to bend them, and there's no trouble bending these. You don't have to score them because of the way they're made. They bend easily. We'll start with the head. Start with the one underneath the face. See if it goes in easy. Bam! I think I might have made it too loose. So let's go ahead and fold the sides now. Just get those, and then insert them into the side there. And it's good that it gives a little tension because you don't want it to be too easy. If it goes in too easy, it'll come out too easy and it won't lock properly. And that's what worries us, if it doesn't lock. Let's see right here, this is giving us a little trouble, which is quite alright. There we go. Locked in place. Let's do this one. Sometimes you gotta just, like what I did there, I put in one side of the spear and then tuck the other one and kind of putting it at an angle first. And that makes it easy. Watch, I'll put in this one first and then the other one should go in easily. Bam, there you go. Perfect. I'm gonna put in this side first and then this side. So it come in at an angle and then lock it in place. Come in at an angle, lock it in place. See how easy that went in? Lock it in place. And there we go. We have Gio's head waiting for the rest of himself. Looking at his mirror image there. Okay, this will come in later. Right now we can put the body together. Actually, let's finish his head completely. So with this, you're gonna want something round because we're gonna roll it. So if you have a blade that's big enough, you can use another stylus. The glue bottle, too big. But for now, just find something round that you can, kind of like a cigar, and then you're just gonna pre-roll it. And I guess we can't do that completely because these things, we don't want to roll those things and mess them up, the sides. So roll it how we can, just in our fingers. Let it get familiar with this position. We want it to remember this position. The paper will hold the memory. Whoa. And then that will slide out like that. Okay, see, now that we got it, it remembers. It's nice and stuck. We're going to tuck in the long side inside, and we want to keep the short side outside. This will help create a tighter roll. One of the neat things about Papercraft designers is how they advertise themselves. And I lost my blade. No, there it is. Okay, so here's my is where they put their information. So he put it on the headphone roll, and you're not going to see it anymore. Once you're done, you're not going to see the information, but if you ever take it apart, you will see Giovannino, designed by VinsArt, www.vinsart.it, all rights reserved. And a lot of artists like to put them in, well, not a lot, yeah, I guess a lot of artists like to put them in interesting places that are out of the way, but still catch your eye. And then there's other artists who, kind of novice, new designers, new creators, who aren't as skilled as most, to not be as loud or upfront or pandering, or be more pandering. They'll put their logos like on the back of his head right here, or right here. Right here is a lot smarter. Even on his back is smart, but you want it out of the way so that people won't see it. And I think keeping your name and your logo out of the way, I think that adds to the overall design itself, to the charm and the completeness of a product. Alex Gwynn is another good designer who is good at placing where they place their info. So it's going to roll up like this when we're done. And then we're going to want to tuck the spearhead into here, and then the other one will go over here. But before we do that, let's make sure that we open up these slots nice and loose so that we can place the spearhead tab in here without any trouble. Alright, so when we got that, we'll go ahead and make it nice and tight, and then we're going to stick it through Gio's head. And that will hold it in place so that we can put in the headphone bar. So there's the headphones. And see, they're popping out now, but when you get the headphone in place, the strap in place, locks it right up. Creates a nice pressure. So with this, we're going to do the same thing. You're going to come in at an angle, pop in one side. Once that side's in, pop in the other side. And then get the strap to the other side. Same deal. Find the entrance. Move it in at an angle. Once one side's in, slide in the other side. It's a little tricky. There we go. We got it nice. And give a little tug so that it can create a nice arc. And there we go. We have Gio's head complete. So let's go ahead and work on the body. Not a lot to score, just a couple pieces, a couple lines. Score that there. Score that there. And score here. Score right here. It's not a lot of scoring, which is not bad. It makes for a quick build, quick fun build. And like I said, there's about, I think, 7 of these, and if you can still find them, if they're all still available on Vins's website, super easy to build, super easy to have 6 or 7 of them just kicking it on your desk. Okay, so what we're going to do with this fold here, they all have the same pattern, so it doesn't really explain here how to fold it down. And it took me a second to remember that you're going to create like a kickstand back here. But I can tell you right now how to do it. And you won't need a kickstand. I mean, you won't need to mess with trying to figure it out yourself. So it's going to go like that. So you're going to bend it like a W. So it's going to look like a stylized W. See right there? Stylized W. And this is the kickstand right here. So then the sides of the body fold in like that. And there's a lot of interesting things at play, or a lot of interesting physics. You see, since there's no glue, you don't have to glue, but the body won't stay together. So an interesting way that Vince made this work was he created the locking mechanism right here. And we forgot to open up these slots. The thing that's going to hold the body in place is the arms. And that, I think, it's very unconventional and very, very neat. Put one hand in, and then we'll put the other hand in, and that locks the body into place. Let's see. It's two people coming together in an embrace. Right there. And then once we put it on the head, everything, the whole piece itself, this is a neat concept, a great idea, because the whole piece itself holds the piece together. So these pieces are holding the body together, and locking it into the head right here finalizes the locking mechanism, the entire body. Just like you roll it up, you don't have to glue it, you tuck it in, you tuck in the headphones, and then the headband, the headphones band, locks it into place. Locks these two sides into place by creating that tension. Oops. Pulled his headphone out. So it's really neat. It's a really, really interesting piece. A lot of innovation going on here. A lot of neat designs and neat mechanisms. So let's go ahead and finish the feet. Nothing too tricky here. Just gonna fold. Score here, score here, score here, and then fold it together. Like that. So it comes together like that. It looks just like a shoe. And what we're gonna do here now is we're gonna tuck it in to these bottom slots. So make sure they're opened enough. So we're going to fold these back, and you're going to tuck the top shoelace design inside. And then just slide it in. Now here, if it gets too tricky, simple solution, untuck the hands and pull through from the other side. Right there, just pull it through. Remember, using the insert one side first. And then the other side. And then, there you go. It's locked in place. So we'll go ahead and do the other shoe. I'm going to eyeball this because it's such a small line that I don't think I need this straight edge. Okay, hold that. The other side. Make sure one side goes in first. Oops. So come to the back side, pull it through. Try not to twist the paper too much. You don't want to damage work. Okay, that piece's side is through, and then I'm going to do the other side. If you're really having trouble with it, don't be afraid to just cut that slot a little wider, and then you can just slide it right in. And to lock these in place, to lock the tabs in place, just separate them. And that also locks them in place. It's like I don't know if you've used brads before. I know in school we used to use brads all the time when I was in elementary school to put things together and make wheels and stuff. So there you go. His feet are now in place. Let's tuck the hands back in. There we go. And now for the final step. See, it creates a nice little table here. The feet stand up, and then this little kickstand back here supports it overall. So it's like a nice little surface. And then the head, very simple. You're going to tuck this one into the back. I find that kind of bowing them outwards like that makes it easier instead of trying to just tuck them in anyway. If you're more conscious of how they're going inside the head. So like this one, the back will go on the back right here. We'll roll to the back, and then the front will roll to the front. So let's go ahead and make that happen. Tuck that in. And here it does it. You can bend, you can twist, because right now we're just trying to get it inside. And there you go. We got the top part inside. Now we gotta get this front part inside. Tuck it in. Don't be afraid to use your tools just to get that going inside. And then once it's in, round it out. See, right now it's giving me a little resistance, but this is good because this is how it locks it in place. It uses the pressure from this, not allowing it. To maneuver too well. So it's a nice little pressure. Tuck it in. There we go. See? And now it's locked in place. The arms and the body is locked. Everything else. And we have our little Giovannino. Finalize everything. Make sure it's all fitting together nicely. And we're done. Very easy papercraft. I mean, doing this by yourself, we're looking at 30 to an hour, 30 minutes to an hour, and you can have this cute little guy sitting on your desk, sitting on your speaker, sitting on your dashboard in no time. Very easy build, no glue required. You can build them on the fly or anywhere you're at. And I mean, is he not cute? Is the color choice, is it not pleasing to the eye? I think it is. Look at how peaceful he looks. He's listening to some chiptune. And then you can have a whole army of these guys sitting on your desktop or wherever you want him to be. Very, very neat design. Very cute character. Very fun to put together, very relaxing. So you can download this at VinsArt.it. I believe this model will be up for grabs for a long time. I don't know if any of the other models are still up. It never hurts to check. Plus, there are other paper toys that you can download on his website. He's got think a spider. I think he customized another creator's toy. So go ahead and check it out, download it, build it, send me a picture of your build. You can find us on Facebook, you can find us on Instagram foremost. I do a lot of my work off Instagram. I'm more active on Instagram than anything, so it's Neuron on Instagram, neonneuron.com, neonneuron.net. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Tumblr, obviously Twitch and YouTube. Other than that, thanks for watching.